Life, business, career are infinite games. We must have a different mindset in infinite games. Hi, welcome to the Self Up. This time, I will talk about the book The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. This book discusses the mindset we should have in life. Simon explains that there are basically two types of games: finite games and infinite games. In finite games such as soccer, chess, tennis, we know who the players are, the rules of the game, the beginning and the end. In the finite games, the winners and losers can be easily differentiated. But it's different with infinite games. It's like business, career, or life itself. The rules of the infinite game are not explicitly told. There are no winners and losers. There are only those who are ahead and behind. Then we might ask, how can we win the infinite game? In playing the infinite game, we must also have a different mindset. Simon calls it infinite mindset, or mindset without limits. I summarized it into 3 important things from this book. First, have an infinite game mindset. In January 1968, forces from North Vietnam and the Viet Cong conducted the largest military campaign with the United States. This war became known as the Vietnam War. In every battle, the United States always won and North Vietnam often suffered heavy casualties. From January to August, North Vietnam had lost more than 100,000 soldiers. Even so, at the end of the war, it was the United States that retreated. So, the United States won every battle, but lost the war. So, why did this happen? Simon explains this phenomenon because the United States and Vietnam have different mindsets. The United States has a finite mindset, while Vietnam has an infinite mindset. For the Vietnamese, their main goal was not to defeat the United States, but to be the last one standing. This mindset is difficult for many people to understand. We use the finite mindset in the infinite game. An example is like the United States in the Vietnam War. They didn't think about being the last one standing, but how to win the fight. In fact, war is an infinite game. Nothing is certain and there is no end. The game only stops when one side loses the spirit and resources to continue playing. Simon gave an interesting fact. Business is not like a game with rules and a clear ending. Business is an infinite game, where an organization needs to stay in the game as long as possible. Therefore, Simon feels that it is irrelevant if many leaders in large companies claim to be business winners or number one. When it comes to winning business, there must be losers. In fact, nothing is certain because it is part of the journey, not the end. Many companies are too focused on short-term profits, next month how much profit. In fact, leaders in a company must look at a longer horizon. How can the business survive in the next decades? According to research from McKinsey, the average lifespan of companies in the S&P 500 has decreased by 40 years since the 1950s. These companies have an average lifespan of only 18 years. Compared to the 1950s, the average company is 61 years old. Second, the infinite game in business. When Apple launched the iPod, Microsoft responded by creating Zune, a product similar to the iPod. At that time, Microsoft was like being obsessed with Apple. However, Apple brought to the leader Steve Jobs at that time had an infinite mindset. Apple did not compete with Microsoft, but Apple focused on thinking for the future. A year later, after the Zune was launched, Apple released a smartphone and made the Zune and iPod no longer relevant. This is the difference between people who have a finite mindset and an infinite mindset. People with an infinite mindset see the world with infinite possibilities. Playing with a finite mindset in an infinite game like business will make the company make decisions that are detrimental to its future. Companies with a finite mindset focus on how the next quarter or semester must be profitable. They create products for the short term. This mindset also makes companies cut their costs to the extreme. For example, reducing employees, cutting budgets for innovation, and others. Companies do whatever it takes, as long as the quarterly and annual financial reports are good. But in the long run, the company can lose the game. We must realize that we live in VUCA conditions, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Therefore, we must be ready with a different mindset. In an infinite game, two things are most important: spirit and resources. Resources in the form of money usually come from investors and customers, while spirit is the motivation within an organization. In difficult conditions, leaders with a finite mindset see employees as a burden and prioritize short-term profits. However, leaders with an infinite mindset see things differently. Victorinox is a company that produces the famous Swiss Army knife. But after 9/11, its business immediately collapsed, as knives were banned from being carried on airplanes. People stopped carrying knives everywhere anymore. In fact, in the past, Swiss Army knives were often used as gifts for people who retired or graduated. In difficult conditions, Victorinox took a different step. They didn't fire any employees. Instead, they increased the budget for product innovation and inspired their employees to elevate the Victorinox brand to new markets. There is a reason why Victorinox can do this. When business is good, Victorinox prepares an emergency fund for unpredictable hard times. The CEO said, "If we look at history, bad things happen. Therefore, we don't think in quarters, but we think into future generations." Third, how to apply an infinite mindset. Simon gives tips on how a leader can apply an infinite mindset. First, just cause. It's more than your what, why, or purpose. Just cause is a clear vision of a future that has not yet emerged. This future is so interesting that it drives employees in the organization to sacrifice something to get there. This could mean working overtime, taking more frequent business trips, or rejecting more exciting offers from other companies. Second, trusting teams. The focus is not just getting everyone to work together in a team, but that they trust each other. These are two different things. Trust is a feeling, and it takes time for that feeling to grow and for each team member to feel safe in their team. Third, worthy rivals. In an infinite game like business, we should treat our competitors with respect. But our success or failure is not dependent on them. Our competitors contribute in pushing us to be better, be it in terms of products, services, marketing, and more. Fourth, existential flexibility. There is a time when we must dare to decide to change. If what we are doing is no longer in line with our just cause. An example in this case is Walt Disney. In 1937, Walt successfully launched Snow White and was a huge success. But this success made the focus of his company change. From Walt's idealism, it became a focus on making profits. This made Walt feel that Disney was no longer in line with his vision. He then decided to leave, and 15 years after Snow White was launched, he still remembered the just cause, which was to make people able to escape from the stress of life. That's what made Walt create Disneyland. Walt wanted Disneyland to be the happiest place in the world, where adults and children could experience the beauty of life, experience it, and feel better afterwards. Fifth, courage to lead. Leading takes courage. Does a leader dare to focus on the long term instead of profits every quarter or semester? Especially in the midst of many pressures such as from shareholders. This is not easy, but a leader needs to dare to take measured risks so that his company can survive in the long run. Different games need different mindsets. In an infinite game like life, there are no losers and winners. There is only who is in front and who is behind. Please comment in the comments section what lessons you learned from reading this book. If you'd like to read the full book, click the link in the description or the pinned comment. Thank you for your support in growing this channel. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-improvement and discovery. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below on what book or topic you'd like me to cover next. Don't forget to subscribe to Self Up for more inspiring content. Until next time, keep pushing yourself towards greatness.